Assalamu alaikum. First, I'd just like to thank the Sunni Defense for allowing me, a young female, to tell my story, and also for spreading awareness about this issue that I think more people should be addressing. The main motivation for me for telling my story today is the fact that I know that there are still young females out there that are being trapped into this disgusting ritual in Shia Islam, which is called Mut'ah. And later on, I'll be explaining what that is. And I know for a fact that this is causing lots of distress and lots of torment and trauma for these young females, not only for them, but for the wives of the men that are going around and sleeping with these, commonly young females. Another reason for why I'm motivated to just expose this disgusting thing in Shia Islam is because I know for a fact that there are literally no one, almost no one, literally no one in Shia Islam that is actually speaking out against it. And I know for a fact that Mut'ah is encouraged by the leaders, and they're literally, it's just past, no one cares about it. Even the media today, they're not addressing it, and I think it has to be addressed. Now, I've been raised in a Twelver Shia family, and my dad, which I will be talking about how he got involved in this. He himself is a rather religious Shia Muslim, and he raised me with Shia values, and so did my mum. Now, how all of this chaotic situation did start off is me and some of my friends, we were all just, young Shia females that were rather intrigued, and we wanted to know more about Shia Islam. So we were going around, conversing with Shias on the internet, getting involved in social media, those type of things. And we bumped along with this group. What they do is they go, what they do is they go around and doing dawahs and spreading the word of Shia Islam and explaining its theology. And they're a rather prominent YouTube channel as well. I'd say they're one of the most prominent Shia YouTube channels. And how I directly got involved with them is one day, one of them ended up messaging, after seeing me active, on their social medias and commenting, etc. One of the members contacted me personally, and he asked who I was, and we ended up developing a acquaintance, and it was rather friendly, and we got rather close. At the very start, it was rather mutual, and I will have to point out that throughout this whole entire thing, I was consenting, and there were no crimes that were made, no laws were breached. Anyway, so we ended up talking with one of the group's leaders, and we basically hit it off. Around a few months, talking to each other, he ended up gaining my trust. And, I feel kind of dumb now, but back then, especially being a young female, I was vulnerable, and they knew for a fact that I was vulnerable. They ended up gaining my trust by, I don't know, being friends and being there for me when I wanted, some support, or, just basically doing what friends do. And the fact that they were active in Dawah did build quite a bit of, it gained a lot of trust from my side, because I was like, oh, look at these guys. They look they're saints. They're going around, they're helping people, they're trying to spread the message. I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. They're like angels. So especially imagine from a young female's perspective, just looking onto these older men spreading the message and just trying to help other people out. Of course, you would end up trusting them at first. Unfortunately, though, I know that wasn't the right decision. So around 3 to 4 months of talking mutually, and I'd have to point out, within these 3 to 4 months, it was extremely suggestive. They were being very flirtatious, talking about sexual things, stuff like intercourse, anal intercourse. I don't want to go into the details, but the way that I would describe it is, it wouldn't be very Islamic, if you know what I mean. And around 3 to 4 months in, they asked me, do you want to do Mut'ah? Now, I was a bit confused at first because I thought, hey, this is just a joking around thing, but I ended up, I didn't want to upset them. And obviously, because they've gained my trust, I was like, okay, well, how's this going to work? What is this? So they ended up explaining to me, and I have to point out, the way that they explained it to me was they sugarcoated it so much. They told me, oh, this is going to give so much advantage to you. We're going to protect you. This is going to be great for you. You have all of the control in this. When in fact I did not. Another way that they tried to convince me to do Mut'ah was they tried to back it up with theological reasons, and not only theological, but also logical reasons. They ended up getting prologues of speeches from, Imam Khomeini and Imam Khamenei and, the Shirazi guys. And they ended up getting the prologues of their speeches and getting bits and pieces. No, not the whole entire speech, but bits and pieces where it sounds really like, women's rights and very feminine, like very peaceful and friendly. They ended up getting those and they ended up sending it to me. And I ended up falling for it because it was just so manipulative. I just can't describe it in words.
شلون رواية عظيمة هاي؟ شلون رواية عظيمة؟ الله أكبر. الإمام الصادق سلام الله عليه يقول: ما من رجل تمتع. سمعوا الرواية هذه، كل قطرة غسل، كل قطرة غسل تطلع من هذاك الغسل، الله يخلق من القطرة دي 70 ملك يستغفر له. واضح؟ اسمع الرواية نص: ما من رجل تمتع ثم اغتسل إلا خلق الله من كل قطرة تقطر منه 70 ملكا يستغفرون له إلى يوم القيامة. رحم الله والديك. الله يقول أنت أحييت السنة إلى يوم القيامة. 70 ملك من كل قطرة. إيش قد قطرة تنزل؟ 1000 قطرة، 1000 ضرب 70 كم يطلع؟ كم يطلع؟ 70,000 ملك يستغفرون له. زين؟ عاش الثواب عظيم. من كل قطرة تقطر منه 70 ملك يستغفرون له إلى يوم القيامة ويلعنون متجنبها. اللي يتجنب المتعة يلعنونه هم. هذا اللي يقول أنا ما أبي أتمتع، يرفض سنة النبي، هذا شنو يلعنونه.
And I ended up falling for it because it was just so manipulative. I just can't describe it in words. And throughout this whole thing, I need to just point out, I thought I was doing something great. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to benefit the religion. I'm going to be benefiting Islam. I'm going to be spreading the message. That's basically what they told me. They told me that they're going to be doing this because they want to spread the word of. And I was actually quite surprised about how blunt they were about it. But at the same time, they presented it in a way where it would seem convincing for me to actually take part in it. They told me, this is Allah's going to be very proud of you. You're going to get good deeds. You're going to end up in heaven. You're going to go to paradise. And who would not reject that offer when they hear it? So obviously I did take it, and I do regret it now, and I feel disgusting because of it.
وفي رواية قال الإمام الباقر سلام الله عليه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم لما أسري به إلى السماء بالمعراج مولا قال: لحقني جبرائيل لحقني جبرائيل عليه السلام فقال: يا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، الله يقول إن الله تبارك وتعالى يقول إني قد غفرت للمتمتعين من أمتك من النساء. الله يغفر للمتمتعين من أمتك من النساء.
Who would not reject that offer when they hear it? So obviously I did take it, and I do regret it now, and I feel disgusting because of it. Now, what specifically happened, and I'll try to say this in the most how do I say, civil way as possible. is 3 men approached me at first. Now, I would have to point out that 2 of them, and when I told them I was not interested, they backed off. They were like, you know what, I'm not going to insist on this girl. One of the men, however, from this group, which is a rather prominent figure in this group specifically, kept on insisting, and I obviously got rather close with the person, and I ended up giving in. And as I said, 3 to 4 months into talking, no, this happened at around 2016. 3 to 4 months into talking and being friends and just getting very close, we ended up commencing a Mut'ah relationship. Now, for the viewers who may not know specifically what Mut'ah is basically when even like a married man or even a single man asks typically a young female to engage in sexual activity with them and commence a relationship. It's basically like a temporary marriage, except it isn't actually a marriage. And the man has the right to cheat on his wife and then commence a temporary marriage. And there's little respect for the young female in there, and it's very, very manipulative and disgusting.
في رواية أنا شفتها أن امرأة جاءت إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت زوجني يا رسول الله. هي قالت زوجني. الحين واحدة تجي تقول للشيخ تعال زوجنا، يقول لها روحي استحي حواك ذي ما تستحيني هذا وين تون. لا غلط، المرأة هذه بحاجة إلى أن تحصن نفسها. ليش أنا أشيل عليه شيلة الله أكبر؟ لا خلت تتزوج ما فيها شيء. فقالت هي نفسها جت للنبي، لو كان النبي يعد هذا الطلب غلط إن كان اعترض النبي. تسألني الشيخ احنا نتمتع بمين؟ أي المرأة الواحد يتمتع بها؟ يستحب التمتع بالمرأة العفيفة الشريفة المأمون عليها.
And it's very, very manipulative and disgusting. Now, the conditions in the Mut'ah itself, I'd say, were rather comedic but sad in a way. We weren't even living in the same country, and we hadn't even met in real life, which I think should have been a red flag, but I ended up overseeing it anyway because of how much trust. Basically, the conditions were they offered to, buy me bags, buy me rings, send me out to basically giving me it's basically prostitution, but with the female unaware of what the hell is going on and being manipulated into it. But yeah, they buy all these luxurious things and perfumes and stuff in the exchange for nudes, video calls. I feel rather shameful saying this now, but just, and basically for exchange of nudes and sexual things and pictures and things that I would describe as un-Islamic. And the duration of this Mut'ah contract was around, I'd say, 6 to 7 months. And throughout the whole entire actual Mut'ah, as girlfriend, we were together. We were really close, even having cyber sex, I guess would be the bit, being very flirtatious, just very things that you shouldn't be doing behind the point that I want to get into. And it's something that just made me stop. Once I found out that the person that I was doing this Mut'ah with was in a relationship and was married, I was just like, you know what, I'm going to get out of here. And that's how the Mut'ah ended up stopping.
اكو واحد عنده نساء 2 3 مع ذلك الامام الصادق يقول بعد اتمتع. يقول له الامام انا عندي خوف نسوان، قال له مع ذلك ما احب ان تخرج من هاي الدنيا حتى تتمتع.
And was married. I was just like, you know what, I'm going to get out of here. And that's how the Mut'ah ended up stopping. Now, how I felt about the actual Mut'ah was, at first I thought it was very genuine. I was like, you know what, this person cares about me, this person loves me, and I love him back and I care about him. And I'd say it was fairly pleasant. And I feel kind of dumb saying this now, but being like a vulnerable young female, like I'd say I slightly fell in love with the person. It was rather an endearing thing. Or so I thought. Now, after when I stopped the Mut'ah, well, now I know that this wasn't the same case for the man. And I know for a fact, it's rather obvious that he only saw it as this entertainment. He wanted to just use me for sex, use me for sexual pleasures. But obviously, they're not going to say it during the Mut'ah. They're just going to pretend like, oh yeah, I care about you too, and they just play along just so they can get all of the stuff they want to get. Around a week or two into the Mut'ah contract, he offered to pay an airplane ticket for me so I could visit him in his country, and so we could have intercourse. We were talking about, getting a hotel and just doing things that were not acceptable in Islam. But obviously at the time I was manipulated into thinking, you know what, this is such a virtuous thing and I'm going to get good deeds for it.
فيها ثواب لولا كثير من الناس يسأل انه المتعة انتم تمارسونها شنو يعني؟ هي تعتبر من الاعمال الصالحة؟ من الامور المستحبة؟ بلي عندنا ان المستحب ان الانسان يأتي بالمتعة ولو في العمر مرة واحدة.
I was manipulated into thinking, you know what, this is such a virtuous thing and I'm going to get good deeds for it. Obviously that isn't the case. Thankfully, I did not end up visiting the I didn't end up visiting the man. And I'm actually quite thankful for that, because now that I look back on it, if I did end up going and visiting him and having intercourse with him and basically being used for sex, I don't know what would have happened, and I don't know what mental state I'd be in at the moment.
حداقلش میشه یه ساعتی، یک آن که نه دیگه، به هر حال یک ساعت نیم ساعت که با هم محرم بشن. متوجه شد؟ یک ساعت نیم ساعت اشکالی نداره.
Now this Mut'ah contract was, as I said, it lasted for 6 to 7 months, and what made me stop and what made me just quit the Mut'ah contract and say, you know what, this is absolutely disgusting. And what made me this is one of the main things that actually made me leave Shia Islam, was when I found out the person was in a relationship. They were married. They had kids. Now, when I found that out, how do I say, my world kind of someone has dignity. And I had dignity the whole entire time. But when I found that out, I just felt really shameful. I felt disgusted. I felt used. And I ended up confronting the person. I was like, hey, you're married. You have children. What the hell's going on? And they just ended up brushing off. They're like, oh, chill, it's nothing. And I'm like, what do you mean it's nothing? You're married. You didn't tell me that you were married. Yet you didn't even mention it once. And they ended up trying to justify what they did. And the way that they justified it, it makes me want to grab a bucket and vomit. It's absolutely disgusting.
أن الإنسان يأتي بالمتعة ولو في العمر مرة واحدة. قال مع ذلك ما أحب أن تخرج من هذه الدنيا حتى تتمتع. يستحب التمتع بالمرأة العفيفة. الله يغفر للمتمتعين من أمتك من النساء. إلا خلق الله من كل قطرة تقطر منه 70 ملكا يستغفرون له إلى يوم القيامة.
It makes me want to grab a bucket and vomit. It's absolutely disgusting. How they ended up justifying it was they ended up presenting me the same quotes and speeches that they were cherry picking, and they showed it to me. And they're like, well, hey, didn't we show you this before? Look at how virtuous it is. This isn't bad. This is good. And I ended up getting curious because I was like, wait a minute. And I ended up going to the same sources, Imam Khomeini's website, Imam Khamenei's speeches and sermons, and, the Shirazi Imams and what they said. The fact of the matter is, when I ended up looking, was the Imams actually encourage it. And they talk about it in such a blunt and malicious way as well. When you look at it from an objective view, not a subjective view that they presented it to me with, when you look at it from like a different angle, they make it clear that a man has the, like, if he has, like, sexual urges, even if he's married, he has the right to go and cheat on his wife. He has the right to leave his family alone. He has the right to lie to them, and he has the right to go to young females and use them for sex and then leave them alone and go back to his family. And this is an epidemic, and it's happening everywhere, and no one is addressing it. As I said, this is one of the main motivations for me, and one of the main reasons why I really, really want to spread awareness about this issue. But yeah, like, I ended up doing some research for myself, and I ended up seeing how disgusting it was and how exploitive it is for young females. Disgusting it was, and how exploitive it is for young females. Unfortunately, this isn't the only incident that I have had with Mut'ah. In fact, it actually runs a bit more deeper. My own father has done it, and I ended up finding out at the age of around 10 to 11 years old. And to be honest, it is rather an emotional thing for me to talk about, and I'm sorry if I do stutter, but at the end of the day, I want to get the message out, and I want to inform people about how disastrous this thing is towards people. Now, my father, he is rather religious, and when I was young, when I was like, 7, 8 years old, I never thought that a father figure could do such a thing. And the fact of the matter is, the optimal family household has to have a stable father and a stable mother. Once the stable father goes away, everything goes to hell. And that's exactly what happens to many families in the Shia community. And what happened to me specifically was, around 10 to 11 years old, I ended up finding out for myself that my own father was going overseas to, developing countries, like in Southeast Asia, and just, those cheap, like, countries like the Philippines. He was going there behind my mum's back, and he was doing not so very nice things. I ended up, basically how it happened was, I saw some random woman message my dad on his phone, and I got a bit curious. I ended up opening his phone, like, while he went away to shower, and I ended up just looking through the message. Imagine the torment, imagine the catastrophe that would have had occurred in my brain as an 11-year-old, just looking at all of these things, all of the messages, all of these scummy things that were happening behind my mum's back, and I ended up breaking down. And this is the fate of many other young children in Shia Islam, and I'm surprised no one is actually addressing it. Imagine a daughter opening her father's phone and just seeing these explicit messages sent to these random prostitutes from Southeast Asia. Now, as far as I know, when it comes to theology, what Shia preachers and imams say to these men is, you have the right to go and put your genitals in another woman as long as she's a Christian or a Jew. And in some cases, like, depending on what subdivision you're from, even Zoroastrian women. Anyhow, I ended up opening the phone, ended up looking through the messages and looking through the dating sites, and he was, being more loving and more flirtatious with these random prostitutes on the dating site than with my own mother, and that hit me quite hard.
التمتع بالمرأة الزانية يجوز لو ما يجوز. التمتع بالمرأة الزانية مكروه.
Ended up, after looking at these messages, I ended up concluding, because there was like all of these emojis, and he was explicitly saying, like, how much is this going to cost, and I presume it must have been maybe for like a sexual massage, or even, I hope to God this isn't the case, but even for intercourse. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Anyhow, I ended up concluding that my own dad was lying to our family, lying to my mum, and going behind her back and cheating on her and just leaving everyone behind. and coming back and acting as if nothing had occurred. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional. Okay. So what I ended up doing from there was I ended up contacting my well, I ended up telling my mother, of course, because any daughter would do that. And and I ended up telling her, and she ended up breaking down in front of me. And she ended up telling me that everything was going to be fine, and like the family just broke down eventually. And when she ended up confronting my dad about it, my dad ended up pulling the excuse for, oh, it's fine in Shia Islam, and that if she ended up divorcing divorcing my dad, everyone would start shunning her. So my mum was kind of forced to stay with him, and and to this day, he still goes out and he still does the same thing, and my mum can't do a single thing about it. Because these shy scum go around telling people that it's okay to go and just ruin your own family.
فهي هاي المرأة الثرية تقول فتزوجني متعة، فقلت لها حتى أدخل على أبي جعفر، يعني الإمام الباقر عليه السلام، فأستشيره، خل أدخل على إمامي أستشيره. قال هذا نص الرواية عن الإمام الباقر. قال فدخلت عليه فخبرته للإمام، فقال الإمام عليه السلام افعل صلى الله عليكما من زوج، الله يصلي عليكم. هذا ثواب المتعة.
Because these shy scum go around telling people that it's okay to go and just ruin your own family. And I've seen like the effects that it has had on my mom. I've seen how miserable she is. I've seen how insecure she's gotten. And it just breaks my heart, as you can tell. And that's why it just hits very, very hard for me. And I really do wish that no other female goes through the same thing. But unfortunately, that isn't the case. And I know for a fact that it's, unless people start talking about it, nothing is going to happen. After everything that has occurred to me, and after, the people from the prominent YouTube group ended up just letting it slide and treating it like it was nothing, and after observing the effects that it had on my own family, I ended up starting to doubt Shia Islam. And I ended up just delving into the actual theology of it. And at the end of the day, and this is a fact, when you look through the theology, when you look through the sermons, when you look at what the imams say, it is very, very, very self-serving to the man, and it doesn't even consider how the woman or how the child feels. And that's another point, and that's another vital point that I actually want to touch on. Imagine, let's just say, and it's inevitable that this would occur. Imagine if a man who was doing mut'ah with a female ends up impregnating her. What happens then? Seeing as it is a temporary marriage, and the man will almost always end up leaving the woman and just going back to his actual marriage. What would happen to that woman? What on earth is she going to do when her son or her daughter is left without a father? Imagine torment. And like these shows, they try to justify it by saying, "Oh, well, the man is going to end up financing, his child that he had with the woman that he had mut'ah with." That's how they try to justify it. They end up saying, "Oh, well, we're not going to shun them. They're going to be respected." And like, seriously, do you really think, especially in Arabic communities, like the community where I'm from, do you really think that child who, like, who hasn't had a father, who hasn't had that father figure, do you really think he's going to be respected? Wouldn't people think, oh, isn't that the child of the whore that ended up having intercourse with the man, and the man ended up leaving the woman, and now that child is fatherless? Imagine the torment, and this is an epidemic, like thousands and thousands of children are being born without fathers for this very reason, and no one is literally addressing this issue, and I'm actually rather surprised, because like it's just so disgusting. I can't describe it with words. Now, what I mean by epidemic is obviously, like, there's the blatant fact that these innocent children, these young boys, these young girls are being born into a world without a father, and they have to be raised often, especially in developing countries like India and Pakistan. They're actually abandoned because the mother doesn't know what to do, rightfully so, because the man who ended up having intercourse with her has now left her, and now she's alone, and she has no one else to depend on to raise the poor child. So oftentimes, especially in developing countries, these children are abandoned. And the fact that these Shia imams, because they're the ones that are fully educated on this, the fact that they just let it slide is utterly disgusting. And that should tell you enough about the sect. That alone is just something that should just deter you away from the actual sect itself.
اتفاقاً بررسی کردم، دیدم بچه‌هایی که نطفه‌شون در متعه بسته میشه باهوشترین و زیباترین و خوشفکرترین بچه‌ها هستن.
افتخارشون هم اینه حلال زادن.
و افتخارشون هم اینه که حلال زادن. و افتخارشون هم اینه که با یک حکم الهی نطفه‌شون منعقد شد.
Utterly disgusting, and that should tell you enough about the sect. That alone is just something that should just deter you away from the actual sect itself. Now, furthermore, when you look at the Shia sect as a whole, you will notice these young Shia men going around drinking alcohol, sleeping around, smoking tobacco, marijuana, doing drugs, and you ask yourself, why? Well, the fact of the matter is, the father is never there to discipline these people. He isn't there to raise them and give them proper values, and what ends up happening, it's like a cycle. The child ends up being less religious, and he ends up falling into the Mut'ah, and he ends up doing it again and again and again, and the problem just goes on and on and on until someone hopefully starts to address this, and no one is, and I'm hoping that this would change. Now, when it comes to how the woman is approached in regards to Mut'ah, it can happen in various ways, but a common thing in all of the ways that these men usually approach these women is it is done in a rather manipulative way. Sometimes, well, this is like a minority of cases, but sometimes some Shia fathers may perhaps running low on, like, they may be like severely, they would be in poverty, they'd be rather poor, and they're struggling to, and this happens commonly in developing countries, as I said, like India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, where the man and the family are having lots, like, severe financial troubles, and they don't know what to do, and they know that no one would marry their daughter because, especially in those cultures, really poor women from uneducated families are looked down upon, and it's very hard for them to get married. So often what would happen is the Shia father would end up contacting, like, one of the really older men that are seeking for a temporary marriage, a Mut'ah contract, and he'd end up saying, like, hey, I'm happy if I give you my daughter for the Mut'ah, as long as you, quote unquote, respect her. And oftentimes the man who is participating in the Mut'ah would end up paying the Shia father basically for giving him his daughter. And I think that is rather disgusting.
I de barnrika familjerna blir döttrarna snabbt bortgifta med män de inte älskar. Därför flyr unga flickor till storstäderna i hopp om ett arbete och en framtid. Men framtiden finns inte där. Och de flesta hamnar på gatan.
در شب جمعه یا دوشنبه خبر خوشی به تو خواهد رسید امشب.
انشالله. خب این سال برای چی گرفتی؟
برای ازدواج.
ها؟
برای ازدواج.
ازدواج آدم مورد پسندت گیرت اومده؟
نه.
چه شکلی باشه؟ چند ساله باشه؟ چجوری باشه؟
چی باشه چند ساله باشه خب دیگه جوون باشه خوشگل باشه پولدار باشه
حالا اومدیم جوون و خوشگل و پولداری نباشه مثلا یه مرد دیگه یه مرد 60 ساله باشه یا 50 ساله باشه پولدار باشه مثلا.
En dag när jag filmar Habib tar han kontakt med en ung flicka. Han har tidigare berättat för mig att han har haft en sire, en extra hustru som en man kan gifta sig med mot betalning. Det är helt tillåtet enligt Shia-islam. Ett siräktenskap kan vara från 10 minuter till 99 år. Nu förstår jag att Habib är på väg till en mulla för att ingå sire med den 17-åriga flickan Leila.
حالا این سوم میمونه او یکی هم دیگه چیز دیگه نمونده 2 روز دیگه مونده موسیقش و دیگه تمام او 1 سال و 6 ماه سیغه مونده معلم بود او
فراوون اینا دختر فرار زیاد است حالا دیگه چون خودی هستیم دیگه یا آمار گرفتن 4000 دختر فراری تو شیراز بود 4000 تا آمار کمی نیستم به الا مواردهای زیاد یعنی تو هر کوچه من بخوام برم ماشم زیپان باشه تا 10 تا تو هر کوچه باشه من بلند میکنم
تو 6 ماه
چی میخوای تعیین میکنی؟
نمیخوای طلا میخوای پول میخوای
200
هم دیگه مشکل دیگه نداره
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم و به نستعین الحمد لله رب العالمین الصلاة
Mullan frågar tydligen inte sig själv varför en 65-årig man gifter sig med en 17-årig flicka.
ان شاء الله اللهم صل على محمد و آل محمد به جد زهرا و جد امه
آقا دیگه قسم من نمیگیرم اصلا
بگو یا زهرا
میگم نمیگیرم
بگو یا زهرا
با خدا روم نمیشه بگم من برای غریبه آقا شما غریبه چی نیست میگم اون
باش بگو یا زهرا
زور زدم من
نه عیب نداره حالا ان شاء الله جبران میکنم
Habib har en fru som han har varit gift med i 40 år. Hon bor i en by utanför stan. De har barn och barnbarn tillsammans. Habibs sire med Leila varade bara 2 veckor.
And I think that is rather disgusting. Oftentimes what happens is, and it's rather, I'd say comedic, but in a very, very depressing way, is these desperate Shia men who, I don't know why, I don't know why they can't keep their genitals in their pants, but they just feel a need to contact these women overseas, usually overseas, often overseas. I doubt that every single person that is involved in Mut'ah has actually met the person that they're having the Mut'ah with. Oftentimes they end up meeting these women, often prostitutes, online, or perhaps even unaware, like women who are unaware of the whole entire situation, like I was. And they end up contacting them over the internet, and they end up saying like, oh, hey, if I give you this, and if I buy you this, and if I do this and that, will you give me these sexual pleasures in return? And that's usually how it happens. And throughout the whole entire time, they're being manipulating this, and you know what, you're going to get good deeds for this. You're going to go to heaven, and you're doing yourself a favor, basically. But obviously, that isn't the case.
نفس الإمام الصادق يشجع على المتعة. إجا لي واحد قال لي أنا ما عندي فلوس أتمتع. فالإمام طلع دينار قال اتمتع. نفس الإمام الصادق. هاي الرواية عنه. عن أبي بصير قال دخلت على أبي عبد الله يعني الإمام الصادق عليه السلام فقال لي يا أبا محمد تمتعت منذ خرجت من أهلك؟ قال لا. قلت لا ما تمتعت. قال ولم؟ قلت ما معي من النفقة يقصر عن ذلك، يعني الفلوس اللي عندي على قولتنا ما تيزي، واضح؟ الفلوس اللي عندي لا تكفي. قال فأمر لي بدينار، الإمام الصادق أمر يعطوه دينار هذا الرجال، فأمر لي بدينار قال أقسمت عليك إن صرت إلى منزلك حتى تفعل. قبل لا تروح بيتك تمتع بالدينار. شنو الاشكال؟
Now, the main message that the main audience actually that I want to target today is young Shia women or even non-religious women who are looking into converting to Shia Islam. And the main message that I want to send out today is do not, I just put more caution when it comes to conversing with these Shia men, because often all they really want from you is they want you to open your legs, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say, and they want to use you. And this is every single case in Mut'ah is men wanting to please their sexual urges at the cost of the young woman's dignity. So that at the end of the day, I just want you think 2 seconds, consider about just look at just have a look at Shia Islam and look at the theology, understand the theology, analyze it, and I want you to understand that at the end of the day, Shia Islam as a whole is something that you should not get involved in, and specifically Mut'ah, ignore it, forget about it, not forget about it, sorry, spread awareness obviously, but just do not get involved in it, and warn your friends, warn your sisters, warn your mothers about this disgusting ritual in Shia Islam. Warn your friends, warn your sisters, warn your mothers about this disgusting ritual in Shia Islam. Now, my advice specifically is for married Shia women, just have some dignity. Obviously, if you're aware of what's occurring, if you're not aware, then this doesn't go to you. But if you do know what's going on, I encourage you, do not let yourself down. Have respect for yourself. And speak out and tell him, don't do this anymore. And if he continues and he insists, I encourage you, you're much more, just for healthy reasons as well, because you have no idea what diseases are stored up in your husband who's going around and doing Mut'ah. Just have some caution, have respect for yourself. And if you are stuck in this situation, there are people out there that will support you. I promise you, there are people that will support you. And I encourage you to tell your man, hey, stop it. I don't want this to happen to me. I want you to respect me. I am not an object for you. And if he refuses and if he continues, the most respectful choice for you at this point, and even for your children, is you're better off divorcing the man, because that's the most optimal case for you. Now, for the married Shiite women who are unaware of what their husbands are doing, talk with them, have a conversation, and oftentimes, unfortunately, you will come to find that your husband is totally agreeable with the concept. And if that's the case, and if you don't have children, then you're better off also leaving him. And for the non-married Shiite woman, just a simple question: why on earth would you get with a man who supports and encourages all of his friends to go around and cheat on their wives? Aren't you a bit suspicious? Once you do get into a relationship with a Shia man, oftentimes there's no going back. You're going to get treated like rubbish and they will cheat on you. So my advice is, if you're a Shia woman, you're much more better off marrying a Sunni man. And this is coming from an ex-Shia Muslim. You're much more better off marrying a Sunni man than you are marrying a Shia man. Why? Because in Sunni Islam, men do not go around cheating and treating their wives like rubbish. In Shia Islam, on the other hand, it's the total opposite case, and you will be treated like rubbish and you will be disrespected. So you're better off just avoiding them as a whole. Now you may ask me, well, hey, this Mut'ah thing sounds a lot like polygamy. What's the difference? It's rather obvious. Polygamy itself is not a 1-hour contract. Someone doesn't just go in and put his genitals in this woman then walks out. It's a permanent relationship, and everyone, like, the intention to divorce is not present. And unfortunately in Mut'ah, that's not the case. In Mut'ah, everyone going into the Mut'ah is aware that at the end it's going to end. You are aware that it's going to end up in a divorce. And guess what? In Islam, that is haram. Now, for my sisters in humanity, regardless if you're Shia, and this is specifically aimed towards women in the West, if you see a Shia man and if he tries to, lure you into this Mut'ah thing, do not even try and go towards. Don't even try and stay away. Just try and stay away from that man as far as possible, because it will do you no good. And Shia men specifically, at first it will sound very sugar-coated. They're going to be very nice. They're going to approach you with such respect, and they're going to be very charismatic towards you at the very, very start. By the end of the day, you have to know, and you have to put this at the back of your head. They only want to take advantage of you. They want you, unfortunately, to say it quite bluntly, they want to open your legs and they want to use you. And my advice is, don't let them do that to you. Have respect for yourself and have some dignity, and don't let them use you like they have to the other innocent women out there in the world. How about the young females that are literally being taken advantage of and that are being left alone, oftentimes pregnant and not knowing what on earth to do, that are being literally used in the Middle East, even used in the West? Shouldn't they, they cannot speak out for themselves. This is a fact that some of these Shia women throughout this whole video, I have remained anonymous, because I knew that if I did show my identity, I would be, God knows what would happen to me. So imagine the thousands and tens of thousands of innocent women out there that cannot speak for themselves, that are literally trapped in these situations. What are they going to do? What are you going to do to change the situation? Someone has to end up actually just standing up for them, speak out for them, just address the situation, try and help them out. And the least thing that you could do is perhaps just informing the wider world, informing society about how disgusting the sect is, and how ritualistic and how cult-like it is, and how just I can't even explain it. I'm lost for words. How can you go around just addressing these minor issues that are happening in your day-to-day life, and you just blindly ignore the situation? Now, to be fair, no one is speaking out about this issue. No one is. So you may not be aware, but now you are aware. Now I am telling you, go out and inform the wider society and warn your sisters, warn your friends, warn your mothers. Do not get involved. Do not even step close to these Shia men, because they will ruin your life. This is my advice for you. Have respect for yourself and don't get involved, and at least speak out against it. Now, I just want to make it clear that at the end of the day, I'm not telling my story because I don't know, I'm heartbroken or whatever, I want to seek revenge, or I haven't even identified the person that I'm talking about. So to just make that statement is, I guess, rather idiotic, to say the least. The main reason for why I am doing this is because I want to spread awareness. The main motivation, actually, one of the main things that made me want to do this video is because I felt incredibly sorry for the wife of the man that I ended up having the Mut'ah contract with, and I really hope she listens to this. And if you're out there, please, I want you to know that I was unaware that you were married to this man, and I really hope things go out fine with you, and I wish you the best. But anyhow, at the end of the day, I don't really have any harsh feelings towards the man himself. I do not have any harsh feelings towards the group. In fact, at the end of after watching this video, I don't want the viewers to go and harass any Shiites that they find. I do not want you to go around and I don't know, mock or bully any Shia group or Shia people that you know. What I want you to do is I want you to spread awareness. I want to have a civil discussion about this, because going around and bullying people or whatever isn't going to do any good. Now, to conclude this, like what I'm trying to say today is, for any sisters out there, or even like brothers who have gone through similar situations, I encourage you to contact the Sunni defense, and they will respond to you, and they would try to, as they did to me, that I'm pretty sure they would try their best to help you and give as much advice as possible. They are very supportive, and there are people out there that will support you. I promise you, I guarantee you this. So again, like, if you have a story to tell, or if you have had a rather upsetting experience regarding this issue, just know, like, you can email or even contact Sunni Defense, and they will help you out. I wish everyone a great day, and مع السلامة.
صل على محمد وآل محمد. هادي مولاي.
ولا تقربوا الزنا إنه كان فاحشة وساء سبيلا.